All right. I think Brittany's giving us a live thumbs up. Nope. Oh, yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
It's kind of funny because usually Brittany's running our audio tech, but now she's behind the scenes, so we're getting weird hand signals. You can't see them, but we can. So, hey. Oh, my gosh. Look, it's just Nasim and I. It's just our two voices filling up this lonely chat.
You and I.
I am not nervous at all. I am really excited.
Okay, we're nervous together.
Okay, sweet. All right. Well, this is usually where we'd all banter.
Well, tell me, how are you, Celeste? We can talk. We can catch up.
I'm a little scared. I just ran here from work to make this on time. Thank you, everybody, so much for pushing back an hour. I haven't had nearly enough beer yet, but I am rocking that Anchor Steam vibe this evening. Nasim, my alternate twin.
Yeah, I bought myself a Sierra Nevada, and I wished I had an Anchor Steam.
And I wished I had a Sierra Nevada, so, it's just all giggles around here.
She completes me, basically.
Yeah, obviously. That's why we kicked Sage and Brittany off the stream. We wanted some alone time. Anyway,
it's time for us to flirt.
Yeah, it's us. It's our time to shine. Okay, I guess let's get it started. Wow, this is going to sound really hollow, but hey, everybody, welcome to episode 25 of the Venture Maidens podcast. I am your dungeon master, Celeste Konowich.
And I'm your human monk, Sawyeh, played by Nasim.
And that's it. You got us. All right.
We love Sage and Britt, and we want them here, and they are here in spirit.
Yeah, I think Sage is in the chat.
They are here. Actually. You guys just can't hear them or see them, but they're here with us.
All right. Well, I think let's go ahead and do this, Nasim. What happened last time? We've got a recap that we got to handle all by ourselves. So let's bring it out of the memory banks.
Yeah. Better help me out, because we came up from, I don't even know what the little guy's name was, but the guy who helped us out.
Whiz-Ban-Glitch. Oh man, we had so much trouble remembering that name last episode.
Whiz-Ban-Glitch?
Whiz-Ban-Glitch.
Oh, Whiz-Ban-Glitch.
Artificer.
Okay, you can't blame us for forgetting that.
It's a proper gnomish name, excuse me. Anyway, so yeah, he had rescued you all in his submarine apparatus, teleported you back after some buffoonery with Alistar almost dying and coming back, and they started hurting on the little guy, and Arnada was freaking out. And pretty much the minute we got to the surface, she was already in tears, bawling. But he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. We had a magic adrenaline shot in the first aid kit, like of every good book. Oh, look, Brittany's cheering us off camera. Wonderful. So we made it back to the Elysium Keep, and that's where things kind of got messy. So maybe, let's do a little bit of Sawyeh's perspective here. What happened to Sawyeh specifically in that? What was she going through? She was terrified. She knew, like a dog who goes and takes a shit somewhere, knows it does something bad, and is just waiting for the punishment. That's what she felt like, but mortified because, people's lives were taken. Why? What happened? Because as a result of Sawyeh taking in that water elemental goddess thing, the whole city that it was built on, her cage was built on, and then the vast desert before it had flooded and turned into an ocean, which was probably the ocean that was there thousands of years ago. And learned that, everything flooded, and he was taking us back to the keep. And Sawyeh was, she was stunned. She was like, we have to tell them. Like, I don't think she was probably going to quit, honestly. If I think she offered to
right?
Yeah,
She said,
Rem offered you could leave or you have to go with Isolde.
oh, okay, yeah. If they were gonna give me a second chance to prove myself, she would take it, but she would have totally understood. She's like banished forever.
Yeah. So
But,
do you remember, that conversation? They basically, what had they found out? What had they sensed in you?
they were totally creeped out by me. They said that something evil had basically possessed me, and I wasn't me anymore. They didn't tell me any of this, but they were clearly uncomfortable, so I could see that. But they told Arnadel and Kara, saying that they had to test what my intentions were, or how pure I was still, or anything, something like that. How much the contamination had spread.
Rem had basically been able to see an evil taint upon you immediately when you entered the room. And taint. Let's just say taint a lot. Yeah, your taint is evil. So they had sensed you had a stain upon your soul. There we go. Your taint was stained. Oh my god, I'm 5 years old. Gross. Okay, I'll stop.
My taint is pure. I swear.
My taint is pure like my heart. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. Okay. Wow. So basically their solution was that you had clearly done something and this evil had affected you and they weren't sure if they could trust you anymore. And Isolde basically said she would put you to a test to determine how far the evil went, if you were still you, if they could even trust you anymore.
Yeah, Sawyeh was down. She didn't know what was gonna happen. She was like, I'll do what I can to prove myself and definitely make up for it, or try to, and restoring the land she just destroyed.
Yeah.
So
Isolde had led you out of the meeting. You had gone peacefully. She had led you across the courtyard of the Elysium keep. She had led you actually to the outside of the walls to this set of stairs that kind of switch-backed down this floating piece of land upon which the keep is centered, and led you down to an iron-bound door. And when you opened it, it was clear that you had been let into a dungeon of some kind. So as you step in, Isolde hasn't said a word to you since you left. And as that musty, air of a dungeon, long not used, sort of hits you, and this cold begins to seep into you. You're not sure if it's the cold of the underground space or of what you're feeling. She steps forward into the room, and a small ball of light appears in her hands, just illuminating these rows of empty cells. And sort of in the center of this room is this just rock circle. Maybe where guards might hang out or something, but there isn't any furniture here. Everything is really dusty, really cold.
Can I make a knowledge on the light she's producing?
Yeah.
What is that, magic?
Arcana. Yeah, make a magic roll for me.
Magic.
Roll for magic.
16.
Okay. It looks like a very simple light spell, but not like a wizard would cast it. You don't really know exactly what. It resonates with you somehow, like a holy magic sense you get from it.
Ooh, okay.
I think you all kind of determined this earlier, but Isolde is a cleric of the Sisters of Sorrow. So, divine magic, the same kind as you. Oh my god, Brittany's face is so distracting.
Jaw-dropping.
All right, so as she leads you sort of into the center of this room, are you still resolute in this, Sawyeh?
Yes, I'm determined to show you guys that I'll do whatever I can to make up for our mistakes.
She nods gravely and stand in the center of the room.
Okay.
And she takes out of a pack that she has at her waist. You see a skein of yarn that she pulls out of her bag. And she goes to one corner of the floor and begins slowly unrolling it, creating this circle around you. So you're standing on the floor, like, so
Is
about...
she wrapping it around me, or it's
like on the floor, forming a circle, laying on the ground. So like a magic circle of some kind as she's winding this string around to create this enclosed circle. And when she goes and the circle is complete, she uses a small knife to cut off the piece. And then she holds the two ends together and you see them lift and fuse together, creating a unbroken string around you. And then she steps away about 5 feet from you and makes a smaller circle around herself and repeats the process.
Okay. I ask her, is there something I need to do? I'm happy to tell you the same thing I told Rem, what happened inside the city underground.
I think the time for words is long past. I cannot trust you while you are stained with this thing. I cannot trust you. I will not speak to you as an equal until I know this thing has passed and you remain you and not under its control.
Ooh, sounds a little hard. She goes, oh, okay.
Isolde doesn't react to that at all. And she, as she steps into her circle and puts the skein of yarn away, you begin to feel just trapped. And it's not so much the dungeon. It's like the string itself has sort of formed this warding around you, like this intangible thing. You feel like if you put out your arms, there's nothing there, but it feels like there are walls around you. Like a dome is covering you of some kind.
Cone of silence.
You're in the bad circle. Go sit in your yarn circle. So she... the test is to determine exactly where the point of corruption began. We will travel there. We will explore it. I will see what you see. All you must do is survive. And then she begins to incant and like moves her hands like back and forth in these strange arcane gestures. By the powers of what has come, by the powers of what is, and by the powers of what will be, I invoke you. By the power of what has come, by the power of what is, by the power of what will be, I invoke you. And you begin to see the string like glowing brighter and brighter around you.
Is this a charm or a frightening thing that I can resist?
Go ahead and make a charisma save to see if you're terrified out of your sock holes or not.
Oh, well, yeah, I probably am. That's a 9.
Yeah, you don't know what is happening. It is getting
Fear?
Scary in here.
Are you saying fear, Brittany?
It's not. Don't stop playing sign language with Brittany. I think she's saying "fuck that bitch." I think that's what she's saying. No, never mind. I'm gonna stop.
Go ahead, Celeste.
Okay, yeah. So it's not an effect so much that's being cast on you. It's not like your rudimentary charm spell or fear spell. And as this string glows brighter and brighter, you actually begin to see these threads of magic start to weave themselves higher. So it does look now like string is beginning to form in the circular layer that's building up around you to create like walls of yarn that are just beginning to move and start to encase you in. It's like a basket of yarn is weaving itself around you, and you are losing sight of the dungeon, of your circumstances, of wherever you are. You begin to feel this oppressive heat as you can't breathe and everything's just closing in around you. And then all of a sudden it stops. And you open your eyes again. And you're standing on a grassy hill. It is about noon. There is like a nice tree like at the top of this hill that's definitely like a shade tree of some kind, and you see 3 people around you. You see they all appear to be about in their like 20s at some point. There is a man with darker skin and this like really short hair, almost aesthetic monk looking style. And they're all dressed in these very loose fitting garments of different colors. So one blue, one green, one red, and one in all white. And so there's the dark-skinned man with the close-cropped hair who looks sort of mischievous. You can already tell just by looking at him. And then there is a much taller, darker-skinned man with this very, very full like head of luscious locks. And then there is a woman standing there, a woman whose face you recognize, a woman who you've seen in visions past, who looks remarkably like you. She is beautiful, just flowing long tresses and these eyes that just are full of wisdom and joy. And they're all sitting there in a circle. You realize you're sitting down there too, like cross-legged, and they're all laughing and talking with each other. And you feel a slap on your shoulder. Sawyeh, where'd you go? And the woman to your right, who you recognize as your mother, just kind of punched you in the arm. Hello? Anybody home?
She is doing this. I'm frozen and stuttering. And where? Who? Mom?
What? And she just looks at you and like looks, and the other two guys around the circle like look at you too and raise their eyes and are like, what are you talking about? And the one on the other side, so the mischievous looking guy, and suddenly his name pops into your head. That's Rumi. You don't know how you know that, but that's Rumi. And just like you know the woman to your right is your mom, but she's Maheen. She's also your best friend in the world. And then the guy across from you, that's Aram. And you all know each other, but you don't at the same time. It's like these two things are existing strangely in your heads. And then you actually begin to hear a whisper at the back of your mind. Sawyeh, can you hear me? You hear the voice of Isolde.
Oh, yes. Where are you?
I can see what you see. You can speak to me if need be. You must, whatever this is, you must play it out. Somehow this is tied in the beginning of this thing that has happened to you. And again, Maheen just sort of like shakes your shoulders like, okay, seriously, like what, are you okay? Or sunstroke? Too much wine?
Yeah.
And yeah. And then the guys are sort of like laughing back and forth and like, okay, well, and Aram across the circle is like, all right, well, we ready to do this? And the other guy in the circle is like, okay, yeah, no, I'm psyched, I'm pumped. And they're like clearly like a bunch of, I don't know, it's almost giving you like a college fraternity vibe, like the four people sitting around here. And Aram's like, all right, well, we've made it here. I suppose we should begin the incantation. I mean, okay, is everybody ready? Everybody good? And Maheen looks at him and just gives him this smile, just this beaming glow as they look at each other, passing eyes back and forth. Yeah, for a moment. And Rumi on the other side shifts a little bit, looks uncomfortable, and they all put out their hands on either side so you can all form this circle.
Okay. First of all, Sawyeh is a little pissed off. She's so scared, and she's like, this is, ever talking to anyone in her family, she was not ready for yet. So she's like, I didn't know what was going to happen, and now I'm seeing people I've never known other than dreams. And so she's a little terrified and a little mad at Isolde, but I mean, She's like, all right, well, this is a punishment, I suppose. So she plays along and is like, ghosts. Yeah, okay, let's sit down. Sorry, I must have wandered off.
Okay, well, this isn't really the day to do that. I mean, this is the day, just the day. We've been talking about this forever. I mean, I'm a little nervous too. And Anaram sort of grabs her hand and lingers there a little bit longer than in a friendly way. And okay, yeah, no, I totally. Okay, but we need to focus. Let's focus. And as you go and put out your hand to meet them, you notice your hand isn't your hand. It's not. It doesn't look right. It's paler, different, a little pudgier.
No.
So you don't get the sense that you look like you right now.
Okay.
And as you all link hands, you immediately begin to feel this sense of power traveling through all of you. And the three of them begin this wordless chant that's more of a sharing of sounds, like vocal sounds traveling around. And you find that you know it. You recognize it. This is something you chanted. This is one of the hymns of a kind that you practice in your own temple from a very young age.
Okay. I join in. Can I hear myself? Do I sound like myself? Do I sound like another person?
You sound different. It's hard, though, because you're hearing Isolde's voice in the back of your head, and then you're hearing your voice, and then you're hearing an audio voice coming out, and you're just... It's a lot going on right now. But it's definitely a different voice coming out of your mouth.
Okay.
And as this chant begins to rise, you actually see all of you sitting cross-legged on this grassy hill sort of lift a little bit up into the air, and you feel this sense of shared power, this joy moving through you all as the surroundings begin to change. And now the grass, the hill itself becomes like this flat plain that stretches on forever, and the sky just becomes a little bit different. It's filled now with reds and greens and these strange, but this subtle watering effect as reality shifts from one place to another. And the four of you are sitting on this hard-packed earthen floor. And you see around you that there are 4 stone altars just suddenly that have leaped up out of this grass here. And each one is adorned with a different symbol. Nothing that you immediately recognize. But everybody sort of looks around in anticipation and shoots each other these scared, oh my God, we did it, glances. Would you like to roll a check on the symbols upon the altars? Each one has one symbol.
Yeah. I was finishing it up. History or Arcana?
Or religion would be a good one.
Religion.
Mm-hmm. And roll with advantage.
That's meaning I get to add my proficiency?
Meaning you get to roll 2 d20s and take the higher of the 2.
Okay, see, I always forget these little details of how the game is played.
I'll make you a cheat sheet.
I can't retain this information. I'm sorry, you guys. But we're always learning.
We are.
Sorry, I've been saying a lot. There we go. 17 was that roll.
Nice.
And that was lower, so 17.
Yeah, you recognize the shit out of these symbols. These are the ancient symbols of the 4 elements. When you begun your elemental fist training, you saw these all the time. And they're the old symbols. So this is the part right when you left the monastery, you probably would have flipped to this chapter in your book, But you left before they were really explained to you, but you recognize them. So these 4 altars, these 4 symbols, and this whole sort of situation is starting to ring a bell to you. You know that folks who go to train in the way of the elemental fist, they face a series of tests, of trials that come before them to usually claim their first element.
Yeah, it was a rough trial. I remember mine. Ooh, but we partied hard after.
I don't think you made it to the trial, but you did like pre-trials.
I
Those
did
were
some of
nothing
it.
on the big trial.
We're gonna pretend like it happened.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you don't remember it. You were blackout drunk the whole time.
Exactly.
This makes no sense to you.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck, man? What? So the three all begin to stand up, and the mischievous-looking guy, so Rumi, he starts doing these like, he's like stretching his shoulders out and like doing lunges and stuff, like he's getting ready for some kind of athletic shit. And at this point, Aram and Maheen just like start like feeding into each other immediately. They're like holding hands and like getting all real close. And if it wasn't clear before, they are definitely in a relationship of some kind. And Rumi is just like, guys, all right, cool. We're not on the material plane. It's still not allowed. I'm still gonna tell. Okay. And Aram just like punches him, and Rumi is like, fine. Oh, fucking just looking out for number one. I don't know. What about you, Sawyeh? This crap?
Sawyeh was standing there like this, like holding her hands together, all happy for a second, and then as soon as he looked at her, he was like, she throws her hands down, and I wasn't looking at it. Get a room, you guys. We don't need to see any of that.
He's looking at you and just shakes his head like, you're the worst. Girls. Ugh. All right, so who should go first?
Remind me what we have to do.
Oh, to summon our elementals. Who should go first?
Oh. You have the pleasure.
Okay. Sure. And Aram's like, well, we could do mine, I guess. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm totally ready. And looks over, and Rumi's like, well, I'm ready too. I could do it. Do you want to rock, paper, scissors? And, I'm sorry, Rochambeau. That's what we do in Fantasy World. And then they're like, fine. And so they go and play through their little game. And Aram wins, and Rumi looks relieved. And Aram turns to one of the four altars, and he begins to stare at it, for lack of a better word. And he stares at it for a really long time. And about a minute goes by, another minute, and then Rumi and Maheen are starting to like kind of shift back and forth, like getting really bored. And Aram's like, fuck, okay, wait, how are we supposed to do this?
While this is happening, Sawyeh is like kind of talking to Isolde in the back of her head. How do I summon this elemental? How do I know how to do this?
Well, somehow this is your memory. I don't know how to get you through the test. I'm not going to help you. This could be the demon trying to get some answers out of me, or whatever evil haunts you.
Okay,
and
right.
You get the distinct sense of hanging up a phone.
Yeah. Ooh, did she just hang up on me?
Oh, girl. All right. So
bitch.
Why don't you go ahead and make a religion check for me? See if you remember.
Oh, hey. That is 21.
Okay. You totally read ahead in your book. You actually know how to do this. You're like, it's obvious. You have to use a little bit of your trained power to activate the stone. Like, obviously.
Obviously. Okay.
So Aram continues staring at it.
All right. Well, you're wasting our time. And then Sawyeh walks up and goes to the fire one.
Okay.
If I can tell which one that is, which I should. Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm going to do a little flicker, a little flame into the symbol.
Okay. A little gust of wind comes out of your hand and hits the rock. And you're like, wait a minute. That's different. It's like when you went to go for the fire magic, you don't know how to do that.
Oh, and she like slowly tries to slyly like be like, I know, I was
Rumi
kidding.
cackles. Like, okay, all right, trying to show off, huh? Yeah, well, okay, try that, but actually get your right stone. And he looks at you and he's like, why are you taking my fire stone? Obviously, I picked the cooler element. Sorry.
You're right, you did. Good for you. And then I walk to the wind one and whistle into it.
Okay.
But I can't whistle, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah, she's trying to be as showboaty about it as she can.
So while you're doing that, before you even get there, it's like Aram has been listening to you all, and you hear this cracking sound as this geyser of like dirt comes and like bursts up around the base of this altar, and the ground begins to rumble. And he like throws his head, looks back at you, and like kind of smirks as you see this, like, because he got there first, as you see the stone begins to actually melt away in this chasm of earth and becomes like this sludge puddle of mud on the ground. And then there's another minute where he's just staring at it and looks sort of like, what? And then you hear this sound as like just the earth begins to explode, and you see this mud shape just move and coagulate and form to like make the form of this humanoid creature just composed of dirt. That's now, so it's a large creature, so it's about 7 feet tall, towering up above you, and you can actually see these little chunks of dirt rotating and moving around its head. Roll initiative.
Oh, what?
Ah!
Are all my stats my stats?
Yep.
Cool. Then
all your normal monk shit is your same monk shit.
21.
21. Wow. All right.
Fuck with me.
Do it. Bring it. Oh, your mama got a natural 20. All right. So she immediately, yeah. So Aram just like flings himself backwards, totally not expecting this, as he was the closest to this thing that is now just formed out of nowhere, and everybody else looks absolutely terrified. And Mahin just runs straight towards it and runs and gets right in between this earth elemental and Aram and just like gives it this round spinning kick. And as she does so, like her foot goes into the middle of this mud beast, and you see the mud like actually move in on her foot, and she's like, oh shit, and begins like hopping on one foot and trying to pull herself out of the mud. All right, then it's your turn.
All right, then, well, I don't know what my wind things are. Oh, maybe I know them from this page. But I will try to get Mahin out of the mud. Yeah. So I go to tug on her shoulder.
Sure, so go ahead and make a grapple check.
Which is just a strength?
So it's just going to be, yeah, strength v strength.
That's 19.
Okay, yeah, you're running like great.
I know. This is good. Hold on.
This is the time to go. Yeah, knock on that wood. So you grab Mahin and just fucking pull her out, and she's also trying to like throw herself back with a force. So you end up like grabbing her under her arms and kind of like dragging her away, and you see the mud immediately as it pulls out of this creature. It forms like this crusty, it looks like dried clay on her foot. She's like, oh my god. You're like dragging her back away. So she's out of there. Good. And all right, then
I get extra things I can do. I'm gonna then attack it with, what are my fists? D4s, D6?
D4s.
4? Okay.
But you used your standard action to make your strength. So now you could move, is the only thing left to you for a standard action. Unless you want to...
I have extra, as a monk, I can do an extra attack. And I also have a bonus action.
Sweet, go for it then.
Yeah, I'm going to attack with my quarterstaff.
Pow.
Oh, shit. That was, I rolled a 2 and then plus 4, so 6.
Your quarters. So your quarterstaff, as you move and swing it around into the chest of this thing, you can't pull it back out. Like, so much of it has gone into the creature, so it actually begins to slip from your hands, and you have to let go of it or you'll get splinters.
God damn it. Fine.
So your quarterstaff is gone, and you just see it get sucked into this thing. So actually, when you look at it, it's just got like this arrow sticking out of it on both sides, just covered in this dripping mud. And again, it sort of opens its face up and it goes, bah! And it sort of like belches out a bunch of this mud that just sprays all over you and Maheen. She's like, this is
beautiful.
Not great. This is terrible.
Can you do an attack on a bonus action or no?
Unless, do you have something that specifically says you can attack with your bonus action? Because you usually have to have a thing that activates it or triggers it.
Well, I just have a bonus. Where is that?
If you want to spend a key point, you can do flurry of blows, right? That would get you 2 just unarmed attacks.
Yeah, but my what I ultimately wanted to do was see if I could also cast. You just use a key point to cast Fist of Unbroken Air, and start trying to use my air abilities as this new person. I don't
think you could do that on this turn, but save it. It's awesome.
Okay. Then yeah, fuck it. I'll cast. I'll do a key point to do Flurry of Blows and try and hit him 2 more times.
Punch it with your fists.
Punch him. Oh my god. That was another 2. So that was a 3. What?
Oh no, we cursed you. The minute we acknowledged it, we cursed you. I'm so sorry.
We do.
You lose your stick, and it's not so much as like you're trying to like punch after it as your staff goes in there, but you just like your fists go in and they go and like get stuck like in the mud, and you're like, ah! So it's like taffy. Right, as your hands are just covered in taffy, as you're now attached to this muddy, nasty thing.
Mm-hmm.
You are so dirty. Oh boy. No. And then, and Rumi comes running in from your left side, and you see as he goes out, he makes this like crane-headed motion towards the thing, and these sheets of fire just shoot out of his hands in pinpoint precision as they like hit this earth elemental up and down. And you see where the fire hits it, these like forms of glass almost like move over it as the mud itself turns to like this intense white hot clay. So you're not sure if that's doing anything, but that's what he's up to. And then Aram at this point is kind of like collected himself and sees like Maheen covered in mud on the ground and you attached and and Rumi over there shooting fire. He stomps his feet on the ground and makes this kind of like almost sumo wrestler sort of motion, and brings his fists down and together, and you actually see this spike from the earth just moves and shoots directly up the middle of this thing. So it's like a sheet of rock from the ground just comes, and the thing splits apart into 2 as the mud is just like, "Wah!" And so you're actually loosed as this happens, and the mud creature is just divided into 2, and it seems to like puddle down for a moment, and then you see 2 of these smaller versions of the creature sort of reform. So now they're both like 4 feet tall, so a little bit smaller.
Cute.
Yeah. So they're like preteens.
Aww.
Elemental preteens.
Love it.
All right. And then Maheen, she helps you like get up, kind of sort of stabilize yourself. And then she goes over towards one of the things, and she actually looks around and takes a dagger out of her belt and throws it at one of the little things, and it just sinks right in. She's like, God damn it! And then it passes to you.
All right. Can I cast? Wait, let's make sure it does the thing I think it does. As an action, you can spend 2 key points and choose a creature within 30 feet. The creature must make a strength saving throw. And on a failed save, the creature takes 3d10 of bludgeoning damage plus an extra d10 bludgeoning damage for each additional key point you spend. Why the fuck don't I have that already? God.
Because your Sawyeh doesn't know how to cast it, but this Sawyeh does.
Oh, fuck. She's got to get it in the next time she gets a new power. That's amazing. Okay, yeah, I'm doing that. Do you need to know my key save? Because I have to make a strength saving throw. Mine is 15.
Oh, wow. Wow, it rolled a 2. There you go. Yes, it's all around. So, nope. So, super no.
Okay, great. 3d10s. Which one are you?
the one with the sort of... I don't know how to describe this, actually.
I think I got it. This one and this one. Plus an extra d10 bludgeoning for each additional key point you spend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, three might be good. Let's see. Oh, so I got 0, 30, and 10.
So you mean 1, 10, and 30 and 3? Yeah. Oh, you rolled a percentage die. I see what you did. So you got 1, 10, and 3. Yeah. So 14 damage. And that is going to be double damage because it's bludgeoning. Would you like to hit the one on the left or the right?
Ooh.
So you are closer to the one on the right. Rumi is closer to the one on the left.
I will get the one on the left.
On the left. Okay.
On the left.
So you just bring down your air fist and you just smash it. It's splats like a little pancake batter, or like an egg. Just explodes on the ground as you just punch down. You see this giant fuck you fist come down and just.
That was satisfying.
Yeah, and you're like, hey. And then Rumi gives you a look like.
Yeah. Sawyeh loves it.
Just you wait till we fight mine. It's not going to be this easy. And then I forget who goes next. I think it's Aram. And Aram.
Oh, I also have more actions. I'm a monk and I can do so many things. I just need to be on top of it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Be on top of it.
I'm gonna attack the one on my right now. So let's do that with I don't have my staff anymore. Okay.
Nope.
I'll punch him. And since I'm doing it unarmored, I get to do something special, right?
Your fist count as magical? Or something? Just go ahead, roll your attack.
Oh, it's something. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, yeah. Attack is 13.
That is going to hit it, but immediately as you make contact with it again, it's so sticky.
Oh, sticky, eggy.
Oh, it's sticky. So your fist just gets stuck in there.
Yeah, I should just keep using that air. Then I will dodge as my bonus action.
You cannot. You are stuck.
Oh, I have to do a saving throw, don't I?
Yeah. So you are stuck. So you are done with your actions for this turn. And Aram at this point comes around, and you see he just focuses in on this little creature and just stares at where its eye holes sort of are, and you begin to see this little creature shake, and you can actually feel it through your arm since it's attached. It's like this vibrating sensation that grows stronger and stronger and stronger, and the thing and the next thing it just and explodes as it shatters apart into a ton of different pieces and just goes raining mud around. And you see Aram just sort of takes a moment and breathes deep, and he inhales, and you see you feel more than you see this green sort of light just emerge from where the stone was, and it's he somehow takes it into himself and just glows, just seems a little stronger, a little sturdier. Something about him has changed.
Whoa.
Um,
Sawyeh, like, she knows that Azul is not having it right now, but she can't help but be curious and want to ask questions about everything she's seeing. So she, after, I mean, even though she's stuck, but seeing him do that, she starts talking to Azul in her head, asking, I didn't know my father was a monk. This is my memory. Where did you find this? Who am I? Do you know anything about my dad?
This is your test, not mine. Focus. That's all you get.
Sorry, I was drinking.
And Maheen just goes over and just kisses Aram. Is like, congratulations, ah! And they're just like going at it for a bit. And again, like Rumi's like, oh my god. You know, if they didn't like forbid this on temple grounds, we wouldn't have to actually fucking deal with this shit. Okay, all right, great, yeah. I don't have a girlfriend. Throw it in my face, Aram. And he gives you like side eyes and kind of like scoots over towards you. He's like, you in the market for some forbidden fun?
She's like, this guy could be my uncle. I don't know who this is. And she nervously goes, ha, 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 and runs away.
You're weird today.
I am weird today. She's freaked out. She's hanging out with her parents who she's never talked to before or that she could remember.
And they're acting like teenagers.
They are. They're acting like they're my age, and my dad is a monk? What? Okay.
And then, so he looks around smugly when they're done and is like, all right, so, Rumi, bring it on. And Rumi's like, yeah, okay, it's my turn. It's my time to shine. Stupid mud monster. Nobody cares about that shit. I've got fire. I've got the flames, bro. And is just like runs over to his stone and is like checks in and makes a stance. And then like does one of his cool like flame hands out to the altar. And for a moment it glows with this orange kind of light as it's heating up like something in a forge. And then it goes dark. And he's like, what? And then he sends out his hand again, and it glows fiercer this time, but then it goes dark. And at this point, he's looking really like, what the hell? And he goes and he brings both of his hands around and begins to channel this like large ball of flame you see beginning to form in his hands. And he goes and like sends it towards this altar. And just this white, hot, radiant light. So much to the point, like, you can all feel this, like, immense power coming off of him. And as he's going and holding it, the moments pass by, and he's still holding this flame out. And it's, like, draining away from him. And it's almost like his hands are extending in front of himself. Like, he can't control it anymore until his hands kind of become outstretched. And you all begin to hear this. It's like a vacuum all of a sudden as the air is being pulled into this swirling miasma of fire as it's beginning to go and form around this thing. And at this
miasma? You have to explain what miasma is first.
It's like a whirlpool of bad magic.
Oh, it's specifically about bad magic.
Well, miasma is like an evil aura or like a shadowy. It's a cool word that they say in anime a lot.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever heard it. Thank you.
Flame tornado. There's a big flame tornado.
Oh, that's a real thing. That's a real thing that happens. Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, that happens. This natural phenomenon. And so as you're going, and Aram at this point runs up and is trying to like shake his friend's shoulders, and Rumi is just not responding. And it's very clear that whatever he's doing isn't of his own control anymore. And finally, this tornado of fire just sort of, you actually see one arm sticks out of it and another and forms two legs. And this thing comes up in front of you. And it is not anything like the size of that earth creature you've fought before. This thing is huge. It towers over all of you, and you can feel the heat ricocheting off of it. And everybody's sort of just in stunned silence. And Rumi now has just clutched and fallen to his knees on the ground. And it's still, you can see just fire pouring out of him as he's like fueling this thing half-heartedly. Almost looks like a puppet to the fire he's wielding towards this creature.
Wow.
And Maheen turns to you like, oh my God, what do we do? Aram, get back from there! And he sort of like, backs away. And you can actually tell he's throwing up his arm, like, because of the immense heat of this thing, and backs away.
We should try rolling him over.
Maheen's like, I have a feeling that's not going to work. And Aram is backing up like, well, if one of us doesn't make it out of here, none of us make it out of here. That's the compact. What do we do? You think we can fight this thing?
We have to try, don't we?
Okay. And Maheen's like, oh shit, okay. All right, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think I have anything that I could throw at that thing that would make a difference. But let's try. And Maheen goes and throws out her hands, and like this burst of water comes shooting like at this creature, but you see it actually turns to steam before it even gets to the fire creature. As it's just roaring, and the vacuum it's forming around itself is just sucking up sound, and all you hear is the crackle, and the grass all around you is just turning to soot and ash beneath your feet as it takes a step forward towards Rumi. Would you like to take an action, Sawyeh?
Yeah. I believe... Does she feel... The problem is that she hasn't cast any of these water spells yet, and we haven't really decided whether or not she's aware of her abilities, her new abilities, or if it's just kind of a spur of the moment. She now is like, oh, obviously this is the right thing to do, and she knows how to do it.
Since you have been touched by Hydra, or you had this exchange, you've been able to feel that presence within you. It really is like another presence. It's not active, because it was once, but now it's not. And you feel that presence close, but not in the same way you usually do.
Okay. Is there water around me?
There is no water, and the grass is rapidly being drained of all water.
Can I control water, maybe? Or create water? What sounds more impactful?
Why don't you go ahead and make a... I want you to do something like trying to access that part of yourself. Like, so maybe I would say like a willpower. So maybe like a wisdom. Maybe like a wisdom or a charisma, whichever is better for you.
Wisdom. 9.
Okay. You reach out for that power and like that spell, that thing that you know you have, that unconscious thing, and it's not there. It's hard to, you can't, but you feel it somewhere close to you. And as you are sort of going back and through this, and you all begin to hear Rumi scream as this fire thing is moving towards him, and it's actually like reaching down a hand, and you begin to see like the little edges of his like skin are beginning to blacken and char as he's just being covered in these second-degree burns at this point. And you see Maheen next to you. She's chanting something. She's whispering something. And she turns her head back towards the water altar. And she reaches out a hand and fires off one of these streams around her. And it keeps going as she's just channeling a lot of this power into this thing. And you hear her chanting something now. And it sounds it's not right. It's not a language you haven't heard or you have ever heard before. It's something dark, something strange. And you see the water altar itself bursts up, and you begin to see her pulling this like water from it in this like endless torrent as you see this figure form to move and shape to rival this fire creature on the other side beginning to be built up. And you see this series of fins that travel down her body. And there's like this moment where Maheen is staring up at this thing, and this thing is staring down into her. And then all of a sudden, all of this water flows in this torrent, and Maheen just like takes it into herself. And she has this aura of water around her for a moment. And all of a sudden, your radar is going off like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is her. Like, I was close, but it wasn't me. And you see Maheen just turns filled with this blue glowing power as she goes and supercharges this wave that suddenly springs from nowhere and moves up to cover and engulf this fire creature. And the last thing you hear is it scream. And then running forward, you see Aram running to catch Rumi as he falls to the ground, and then running. Start saying it. We've got to get out of here. We've got to get out of here before he dies. And the three of them, like even Rumi weakly, like begins that chant again that was carrying you all through. Do you join?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And even without the linking of hands, it's enough. And you fall upon that grassy hill again as the reality moves and shapes itself back, and the hill reappears. And then a smoke begins to roll in. It's like this purple, strange smoke, like dry ice almost, just kind of crawls like over the hill and over everybody, so much that your vision blanks out. And you hear a voice in your head, Sawyeh? It's Isolde. Sawyeh, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Is he gonna be okay?
Sawyeh, there's someone else here. There's someone else here.
Where?
What did you bring with you? There's something else here.
I don't understand what you're saying.
And as you're looking around, you see that you're not in the vision anymore. You're in the dungeon again, but you're not quite in the dungeon. It's like your vision is flickering back and forth, and you're seeing these shapes of people moving outside of you, like in the vision, but this smoke is just moving in, and it's physically filling the dungeon room around you as this purple fog has descended over everything. And you can just make out Isolde in the other circle around you, and her hands are like pinned down to her side, and her head is like sort of staring up at the ground, and you see this purple like light emanating around her, and she is screaming like in severe agony. There's something else here. Sawyeh, you have to fight. I will fight it. I'll hold it off, but you have to remember. And she is like screams again in pain as this purple fog, it's like moving just on the barriers of her circle. There's something else here. There's something else here. You have to fight. It doesn't want you to remember.
Okay.
Make a wisdom save for me, please.
There it is. Wisdom. That's 12. Wait, reroll. I want my power. I want my special power to reroll.
Sure. You sort of like take a moment and reroll. And what do you get?
That was less. So
okay.
It's a 14.
All right. So you are standing in the circle, and you can't fucking focus. There's someone screaming right there. There's purple fog all around you. You just like heard your parents. And Isolde at this point, she dropped.
Is this fear though? Is this fear that I'm getting? No, okay.
It's just natural human fear. It's not
okay.
That's the wisdom save against like, oh my God, like sometimes you just are so scared. And you see Isolde, she drops to her knees again as this purple fog like starts to roll in over her, and she she, on her knees, she lifts up one hand towards you, and like the fog sort of blasts away in this like little air attempt. And you can see now that this purple has like haze has kind of seeped into her skin around her, and you actually see her eyes are starting to bleed, and she's bleeding a little bit from her mouth. Something is definitely fucking her up. And with that blast, her black eyes glow for a moment, and suddenly you're thrown back in. It's like this power is just like washed into you. You can't feel her in the back of your mind anymore as you return to this vision.
Oh, shit. Okay.
You are standing in a town that is burning all around you. You can feel Maheen. You are Maheen. Or rather, you're the thing Maheen carries. You are the same thing, but different. And what Maheen sees all around her is her village burning. It's destroyed. And all Maheen can think about is her baby girl. And she is running. And she is running so hard to find what she did. She had to leave. She was called away. She never knew this was going to happen. Where is her baby girl? And she moves and runs into the town square, and she sees this figure standing atop of this well, almost like perched in this fashion, just looking at the chaos. And somehow she knows that this is the thing. She can sense the evil radiating off of this person. And she moves and she calls out a challenge. Fight me. Do not kill these villagers. They are innocent. If you have come here for me, then fight me. And the thing that is wearing a mask and a hood, a figure you recognize as Sawyeh, but also the thing in you, the thing that you are, recognizes somehow. The thing Maheen recognizes, but she doesn't quite know it or understands why. It jumps down from this well and begins to walk slowly towards her. And she raises her fist and draws that power into her, and you feel yourself coming to life. Ready for a fight.
Am I, like, in control of anything? Or am I along for the ride?
One moment.
Okay.
As these two square off, as they fight, show me your face, coward. If you have come here, if you have razed my village, killed my people, show me your face. And he reaches up and he pulls the mask down, and a big bushy black beard and these same green eyes that Sawyeh remembers from a very long time ago as someone who used to sing her songs when she fell asleep.
No.
Stares back.
No.
But as you look at those eyes that were brown with these strange little hazel flecks, the eyes that Maheen loved, it's not his eyes.
No.
It's not his eyes behind it. It's not. There's something else there. There's something in him. There's something wearing him. And the rage in Maheen grows and grows. And she's like, why? Why him? And she takes her fighting stance, and you feel that power again activate, and you feel your soul unleash and begin to rise. You are the spirit of water. You are Maheen, but you aren't Maheen. You are part of her, and you move as one. So we're going to go into initiative.
This is the most heartbreaking feeling I have ever felt in a game, possibly real life. The family drama, it gets me so good. Oh, my initiative is an 8.
Okay. As this happens, Aram runs forward. The thing that is Aram and the thing that is not Aram. Something about him is different. Something about him is wrong. And he runs in and he pulls a blade from across his back and slashes. And Maheen is just a little bit too slow to react, a little too stunned, and you feel this gash immediately form in her side as she just blocks it at the very end, still just too stunned to even compete. And at the last moment, before the blade struck its killing blow, she turns it and she pulls one of her daggers and plunges it into the side of this person. And there's this grunt and this, again, alien look as you make eye contact again. And then it's your turn.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
So you have your spell list.
Oh, yeah, I do.
There is a well full of water in the center of this square, in case you were interested.
Wonderful. With that well full of water, I'm going to... Ooh. No. Sorry. The thing is, these don't really do much damage. Oh, wait, or I'm forgetting. Sorry, I have lots of papers and notes.
You can also pull any of the water spells off the elemental fist list.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading now. How about an ice storm? I'll create an ice storm over the guy.
It would definitely put out the burning village.
Really? Okay, let's do it then.
Where somewhere you know baby Sawyeh is sleeping.
Oh, shit. Hailstorm of 40 feet high and a 20-foot radius is what I'm creating, and the dude can make a dex save.
Okay.
And takes 2d8. the evil thing can take 2d8 bludgeoning plus 4d6 of cold damage on a failed save. What? Or half on successful.
Oh, man.
It's difficult. And it becomes difficult terrain.
Well, he super fails. And you just... the glee of casting this, just magic just pours out of you. You're just like sending your magic arms like, ah, and the sky begins to darken and hail just begins to fall. And you feel Maheen crying, but you don't really care because in the eternal bliss of just casting arcane magic as it's raining down and hail begins to fall, somehow making like a little column where Maheen isn't affected at all.
Hell yeah.
Because she's your girl. You got to protect her. And so do me that damage.
You don't add anything to this sort of damage, right? Okay, so 8 for the bludgeoning. And then it's 6s for the cold, which is 7, 13, 16. 16 cold damage.
Okay, how much was the bludgeoning? I wasn't paying attention.
8.
Okay. 24 damage. Owie. So you just begin like it hailing and you hear the hiss of like, because buildings are on fire and now there's ice like shimmering all over. So it's just chaos. You hear people screaming around you, but the moment doesn't really like settle in as just this village is going to shit in the middle of this storm. And then again, the masked figure, well, unmasked now, comes in and keeps driving his blade forward, cutting at Maheen, who just is reacting too slow. She just can't get her shit together. And you know that, like, in your head, you're like, humans, ah! And so they're just squaring off. I'm going to give you another hit.
Oh, I get another go?
They're working out some of their problems.
So that was 2 charges. I only have 1 charge left.
No, you don't. You're a fucking water goddess.
Well, fuck. How long does the ice storm last? I need to look
I think it's a concentration, so as long as it'll last this whole time until you stop concentrating on it.
But does that mean that I keep rolling for damage?
Yes, I believe so. Or bludgeoning damage or something.
Duration is instantaneous.
Yeah. Let's just say it keeps rolling. Don't worry, I'll keep taking damage.
Okay, so I don't need to keep rolling for it? It's just going to continuously happen?
I'll
Oh,
just,
shit.
yeah.
Then I'll shoot some fucking water. What water spells do I know here? Water whip.
That's cool. Do that. That sounds awesome.
That's a monk thing, though.
That's
Can
cool.
I do it as the elemental?
Absolutely. Maheen
Then
can
I'm
do it.
doing it. Great, then that's what we're doing. We're gonna spend 2 key points as an action, and we're gonna whip some fucking water around.
Okay.
They get a dex saving throw, and on a failed save, they take.
Damn.
On a failed save, they take 3d10 bludgeoning damage plus an extra d10 bludgeoning damage for each additional key point.
I love
so
that.
How much do they get on a
3d10? So he failed.
Okay.
He can't see you. It's no one can see you. You're like a spirit extension of Maheen.
12, 15.
Okay.
50, plus an extra one. Excuse me, an extra one because I'm spending another key point. That's 19.
So you just flash out with this whip of water. Just you send like a piece of your arm snakes out and just smacks this guy like full across the chest, and he goes flying backwards and actually hits like the edge of the stone well, and you hear just like that rattling of like broken bones, and the human body just could not take that blow. And you see with a final effort, you feel a sudden sense of pain. All of a sudden, like a hole has been punched through you. And you look down at Maheen, and you see a dagger just stuck in the middle of her sternum. And you feel that like that sense of like your power is draining from you, as you can feel your vessel dying.
Oh.
And you feel that panic as it's just like you're beginning to shrink and diminish, and your soul is calling back, and it's calling back to the elemental plane of water. And you decide you can die with her, or you can make this jump. And you jump, and you're gone. And as you disappear...
I'm so sorry to laugh. This is a great moment, but Brittany's face is just unforgettable. She's in shock, but we all are. So continue.
And as you disappear and the scene goes dark, as you see these two once lovers dying across from each other.
Oh my god! Oh.
You see this purple fog rolls in. And the last thing you actually see on this, it's like this strange shadow picks itself up out of the dying form of your father. And you see this purple smoke around him, and it begins to form. And you can't tell now if it's coming in real life, or it's the end of the vision, or if the thing is creating it, or the thing is made of it. And you find yourself back in this dungeon space, and the purple fog is all around you, and you actually begin to see it trail like across the edges of the circle. It's finally made it. It's finally broken, and it begins to creep like up your legs as you're moving, and you get this feeling of love that comes over you, like love and possession. And you hear no
God damn it.
You hear a familiar voice. Sawyeh, my baby girl, I love you, and I'll come for you soon, just as soon as I can, I promise. And the smoke moves and begins to flood away. And you see now for the first time, you realize that this orb of water has formed around you, and you find yourself down on the ground. It's like formed this kind of protective shield around you, and you don't remember doing it. And you feel yourself on the ground, and your throat is raw, as if you've been screaming, but you don't remember it. You were gone, and you see the crumpled over form of Isolde lying motionless in the other circle around you. and you hear the bursting of a door on the other side of the room, and you see Arnadel rush in screaming. And that's where we're done. We did it.
Oh my god. Oh, that was so good.
So thank you everyone for joining us for this interesting little stream. I know it was totally an experiment.
My heart.
Yeah. So
I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted too, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I mean, and if you don't, that's cool. We're trying something new. So thank you everyone so much for listening. Check out our stuff, theadventuremaidens.com. You can find all our social media links, our YouTube, our Twitch schedule, everything you could ever want. And don't forget, tomorrow, for all of you watching live, our podcast of Annihilation comes out on the Wizards podcast stream. So definitely check that out. We had some really cool guests. We had folks from You Meet in a Tavern and Taking Initiative play with us that episode. So it's really cool. Look at the jungles of Chilt and some super fun spoilers. So I think that's it. All right. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I've been your dungeon master, Celeste Konowich.
And I was your human monk, Sawyeh Nassim.
Hey, can we say it together? You know what, guys?
Yeah.
Venture away! Do it! Venture away! All right. Pineapple.
Pineapple and rum.